Yeah, how do you put someone in jail and you don't even name the clients? That sounds kind of insane. There was a lot of people that met with him and did business with him and traveled with him after he was arrested.
Names, last names, area codes, it's okay.
Who created this book?
Epstein himself.
We're so grateful to be joined by Jeffrey Epstein survivor Annie Farmer. Annie, thank you so much for taking the time to come back on the show.
I would like to answer your question, but on the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer this question and any related questions.
Epstein attempted to invite Joe Rogan to his island, and Joe Rogan turned it down. Long before any files were made public, billionaires, government officials, tech CEOs, and celebrities were surrounding Jeffrey Epstein. But the one person who always sensed something was wrong was Joe Rogan. From the details of what was inside Epstein's secret black book to exactly what allegedly happened aboard his Lolita Express private plane, Joe Rogan is now speaking about everything that the FBI failed to redact in the Epstein files.
People have an understanding of how things are really working than ever before.
Yeah.
Like this Epstein file thing, right? That was a big eye-opener for a lot of people. When you see how many people after 2008, after he was arrested, after he went to jail, were actively taking money from him. MIT took money from him and tried to hide it and said to make sure that any donations from Jeffrey are listed as anonymous. So
Wow.
you find out like people are like, they referred to him as Voldemort, like you couldn't say his name.
Wow.
There was a lot of people that met with him and did business with him and traveled with him after he was arrested, after he went to jail.
Do you spend a lot of time reading them?
No, I try not to. I try to have experts come on. I try to
And
read. You can't change it.
Yeah.
And it'll with your head.
Yeah, it's
Like
toxic.
You will really get.
It'll stick with
Yeah.
and I know I've tried not to.
Yeah.
In a recent episode of his show, Joe Rogan revealed that back in 2017, one of his guests, Lawrence Krauss, a theoretical physicist, tried to invite him to meet Jeffrey Epstein. This detail also appears in the recent file release, including one of the emails exchanged between Jeffrey Epstein and Krauss. In that message, Jeffrey Epstein was attempting to get an introduction to Rogan. He said he thought Rogan was funny. The email reads, "It is wild, like Damascus. How are things? I saw you did the Joe Rogan show. Can you introduce me? I think he's funny." Krauss reached out, but Rogan showed no interest. Epstein later followed up with, "If he wants, Rogan can have dinner with Woody Allen on Friday." Krauss eventually replied, "Sorry about Rogan so far. He seems more timid than I would have thought." At the time, Jeffrey had already been convicted on sexual charges. Yet simultaneously, he was still regularly socializing with some of the most powerful individuals in the world and communicating with people like Bill Gates, Elon Musk, Prince Andrew, and even Jay-Z. Joe immediately felt that something was off because Alex Jones had predicted years earlier that something like this would come out. Somehow, Alex Jones claimed to know what was happening on Epstein's island and his private plane decades before Epstein's conviction and long before any official files were released.
I'm in
How
the
many
files for
people?
not going.
Huh?
Yeah, I'm in the files for not going. Jeffrey Epstein was trying to meet with me.
Oh, I did see that.
Yeah, and I was like, what?
I'm like, no thanks.
Yeah.
Aren't
I
you
was like,
glad?
Yeah, but I would have never went anyway. It's like, it's not even a possibility that I would ever went.
But did you-
Especially after I Googled him. I was like, what the are you talking about? This was like 2017. One of my guests was trying to get me to meet him. I was like, you high?
That
Like, what the are you talking about?
For what reason would you? What would be
If I was a guy who was like sucking up to the rich and powerful, if I was really interested in hanging out with rich and powerful people.
You know, it's crazy. That's so crazy. But yeah, some people
People get intoxicated by being in a circle of rich and powerful people, even if they're not, like, they don't even have any ambitions of being one of those people. They
Yeah.
just want to be around them. They want to
Yeah.
be around Nobel Prize winners, and because this guy what he was doing was very clever in that he was getting all of these very powerful and very respected people together.
Yeah.
And you would figure like, oh, it's
if that
safe.
guy's there, if that lady's
Clinton's
there.
here. This is fine.
Right.
Clinton's here. How could this be bad?
Yeah.
Look, it's Steven Pinker. How could this be bad?
Yeah.
You know, he's a genius. Like, and so you would go, I would imagine, you would go to these, because there's people that went to these, like he had parties in New York, like he brought in celebrities and comedians. Didn't Louis Black get invited to one of those? I think he's talked about it. I know Chelsea Handler went to one of them. It's like he would bring all these people in, and he'd like to be around famous people and entertainers and a lot of intellectuals and professors. And Noam Chomsky was famously deeply involved.
The only reason Joe believes he stayed safe was because of what Alex Jones had told him years earlier on his show. Alex Jones had warned Joe repeatedly about Epstein. Joe explained that Alex kept insisting something dark was happening on Epstein's Island, arguing that it wasn't merely a place where wealthy individuals gathered to party, but rather a hub where powerful figures were being compromised. According to Alex, Jeffrey Epstein was collecting blackmail material on influential people by inviting them to his island and secretly filming them in compromising situations after allegedly drugging them. By 2017, Jeffrey had already been convicted of sexual offenses. So the fact that billionaires such as Bill Gates were still meeting with him raised serious questions.
It seems very dark.
Very dark.
Because it seems like it was this bizarre blackmail influence thing that was going on for a long time.
For so long.
A long time.
Through different administrations. That's what's so unbelievable about it.
It's
how
dark.
long it was going on.
This is where the situation takes an even darker turn. Why was Epstein collecting blackmail material in the first place? And how did he gain access to such powerful individuals? Becoming closely connected with both the Saudi royal family and the British royal family is not something that happens easily. And it's also documented that former President Bill Clinton was photographed with Epstein. Having access to those elite circles suggests that Epstein was positioned there intentionally. The major question is who positioned him. Joe Rogan believes it is highly possible that Epstein was operating as an asset for a foreign government. According to that theory, his role was to collect blackmail material, while others funded his billionaire lifestyle, private jets, private island, and numerous properties around the globe. The question remains, how did Epstein afford all of it?
Let me just get real and say,
if I gun to your head, what do you think your best assessment of what Epstein, who was Epstein, who was he working for?
well, I don't know, right? So I'm just guessing. Everybody wants to say he was working for the Mossad. He very well could have been. He could have been working for the CIA. He could have been a guy who was on his own, but also working with them, right? Like a guy that they used, but they never fully endorsed.
Like an asset?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a guy who could move money around.
Right.
He definitely...
Good at laundering money.
The moving money around stuff was very weird because he had money through no way that anybody could ever explain.
Yeah.
He had an enormous amount of money through no way that nobody could ever explain. Which, you know, if you're state-funded, you're funded by Israel, and Israel's funded by America, and, you know, there's also NGOs and nonprofits, and there's ways to move money around where you can give this guy money.
Yeah.
So he was like... Weinstein, who is an economist, right? Weinstein's a legitimate mathematician.
Eric?
Yeah. So when Eric met him, his first inclination was he was a fraud.
He's a construct.
Yeah, a construct. And did he tell you the whole story about the girl sitting on his lap?
Yep.
So Epstein, while he's meeting with Eric Weinstein for the first time, has a beautiful girl sitting on his lap, and a woman, I shouldn't say girl. He said she was like in her 20s, and she's sitting on his lap, and he's bouncing around, so they're juggling around.
While he's asking math questions.
Yeah, talking serious. So he was obviously nerd fishing. He was fishing for nerds, and I think he caught a lot of nerds in that net. There's a lot of those 100%. Guys that wound up going to that island. They probably thought, this is great. We get to party.
Information was reportedly recorded in Epstein's secret black book. Jeffrey allegedly documented names, dates, and phone numbers of individuals who visited his island, along with references to victims. There was reportedly only one copy of this book. After Epstein's conviction, it disappeared from public view until 2009, when the FBI discovered someone online claiming to possess it and attempting to sell it. Authorities arranged a sting operation, and footage of that operation was included in the latest release. The 2009 video reportedly shows Epstein's former Palm Beach house manager, Alfredo Rodriguez, trying to sell a small black book filled with addresses and phone numbers. He allegedly claimed it contained names of powerful individuals and victims connected to Epstein. In the same footage, Rodriguez also claimed that Ghislaine Maxwell maintained a database of girls, allegedly including explicit material. That database has never been recovered. And Ghislaine has refused to cooperate with the FBI even after Epstein's death, raising the question of what or who she might be afraid of.
Names, last names, area codes, it's okay.
Who created this book?
Epstein himself.
This book was made by Epstein?
This is a video of an FBI sting operation with Jeffrey Epstein's former house manager and an undercover FBI employee from 2009. The Palm Beach house manager, Alfredo Rodriguez, believes he is selling Epstein's address book to someone representing a lawyer of Epstein's victims.
You will see a lot of important people here.
He claims that the book contains contacts of powerful people, as well as Epstein's victims.
So those are mostly underage girls, those numbers?
They were very young.
A source familiar with the case confirmed the video shows the sting operation, which court documents show happened 2 years after the FBI demanded that Rodriguez turn over any Epstein documents. Instead, court documents say he kept the address book and tried to sell it for $50,000. In the occasionally redacted 45-minute video of the meeting, Rodriguez implicates Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's close associate, who's now serving a 20-year sentence for of minors.
Ghislaine Maxwell was his former companion, very powerful lady from England. She would go to the former Eastern countries and in Europe and find girls for Epstein. And I knew that because I went with my wife.
Rodriguez also claims that Maxwell kept a computer database of girls, something he said he saw briefly once.
What kind of pictures?
Naked girls from Sweden, from Romania, from Czechoslovakia, from Brazil, from Colombia.
All minors? All young girls?
Very young, very young.
Like when you say very young, how young are we talking?
16, 17. The teenagers, they have braces mostly.
Rodriguez provided no evidence to support the existence of the database.
Good, count it. And while you're
The video, released as part of the recent trove of Epstein documents, abruptly ends after the agent hands Rodriguez a bag of cash and says he will call the lawyer.
Only Epstein's island, where these alleged activities occurred. His private jet, commonly referred to as the Lolita Express, was also repeatedly mentioned. According to testimony from victims, Epstein allegedly kept several young women on board during travel. They claimed he would keep girls on the plane in case he became bored. The most disturbing claim is that individuals on board, including pilots, crew members, and passengers, witnessed what was happening but failed to report it. Instead, they allegedly remained silent.
It took a lot of people involved. It took doctors, psychiatrists, gynecologists, dentists. All these people knew what was going on, hairstylists. I mean, the list goes on. I could keep going on and on and on. Drivers, chauffeurs, butlers, housemaids. It took all of these people turning a blind eye, which they weren't blind to because we were right there blatantly in front of them. They knew exactly what was going on. Everyone's turned a blind eye in the place where I was supposed to be protected, in my country where I was supposed to be protected. The justice system failed us then. I believe they're going to do something amazing for us now. I really believe in them. I believe that the New York Southern District wants to do the right thing. And I will do everything that I can do to be a part of helping them do that.
Details about this plane were also referenced in the most recent release of the Epstein files, noting how he used the aircraft to transport guests. The jet appears repeatedly in flight logs and investigative records. Those logs show that Epstein transported individuals both domestically and internationally. In one email dated January 7, 2020, with the subject line regarding flight records, it was stated that Donald Trump was listed as a passenger on at least 8 flights between 1993 and 1996. The same email reportedly notes that on at least 4 of those flights, Ghislaine Maxwell was also present. Another document allegedly states that on one 1993 flight, the only listed passengers were Epstein and Trump. On a different flight, 3 passengers were recorded: Epstein, Trump, and a 20-year-old woman, with the remainder of the line redacted in the public release. It is important to note that being listed on flight logs does not by itself establish criminal wrongdoing. Flight records show travel and association, not charges. However, the presence of these names in official documentation has led to significant public speculation about why President Trump traveled with Epstein.
Epstein's wealth was so vast, the fact that he had this fleet of planes. We've heard a lot about the Lolita Express. What happened on the Lolita Express?
Everything that happened on the Lolita Express and his other planes was the same thing that happened in his bedrooms and the massage rooms, on the beach, wherever we were. They did not stop because we're in the air. 95% of the time, there was always involved. Jeffrey couldn't take a 2-hour flight without having to ejaculate. That's how sick this man was.
How did you live every day? How did you get on board that plane? How did you live knowing you're going off to New York or to the island or to wherever you were about to be trafficked to? You must have been a ball of dread and anxiety.
I was horrified, I was sad, I was angry, I was disgusted. I was a shell, and the only way that I could cope with what I was going through was, taking Xanax. And Xanax is like an anti-anxiety tablet, but it also, it took away that feeling of anger, sadness. It made me feel numb. It was a numbing tablet.
Recently, the Department of Justice released the names of 6 additional billionaires previously connected to Jeffrey Epstein. These names had been redacted earlier and were only disclosed after senators formally requested their release. This raises further questions. How many other names remain in these files, and why is the DOJ hesitant to release them? One social media post stated, "Instead of redacting the victims' names as they requested, the DOJ redacted the predators' names. They were supposed to protect victims, but they protected predators." Another post claimed, "I don't think the DOJ is concerned about protecting the victims. They are, however, very concerned about protecting some of the predators because they are high-ranking and wealthy people with political pull. It's the most backwards and corrupt cover-up in history."
Congressman Massey and I went to the Department of Justice to read the unredacted Epstein files. We spent about 2 hours there, and we learned that 70 to 80% of the files are still redacted. In fact, there were 6 wealthy, powerful men that the DOJ hid for no apparent reason. When Congressman Massey and I pointed this out to the Department of Justice, they acknowledged their mistake, and now they have revealed the identity of these 6 powerful men. These men are Salvatore Navora, Zorab Mikoladze, Leopig Leonor, Nicola Caputa, Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem, CEO of Dubai Ports World, and billionaire businessman Leslie Wexner, who was labeled as a co-conspirator by the FBI. Now, my question is, why did it take Thomas Massey and me going to the Justice Department to get these 6 men's identities to become public? And if we found 6 men that they were hiding in 2 hours, imagine how many men they are covering up for in those 3 million files.
Joe also addressed this issue on his podcast, stating that it appears highly suspicious that no one from Epstein's alleged client list has been prosecuted. The names are documented, and reports indicate that the FBI possesses video evidence as well. The 3 million files released reportedly represent only a portion of what authorities have. Some argue that arrests could have been made long ago, but were not pursued. Epstein's Black Book was reportedly recovered in 2009, yet no one listed has been convicted solely based on that material. Some commentators speculate that this may be due to the powerful connections of those involved. There have also been claims suggesting Epstein may have had ties to intelligence agencies. However, to date, there is no publicly verified evidence proving that he was officially working on behalf of any intelligence organization. Such claims remain unproven allegations circulating in media discussions and online commentary.
But yeah, I think the public will be rightly frustrated if no one is prosecuted for the Epstein client list, no one at all. Which, no one, like at least, I don't know, the top 5 or something, like some number. There should at least be an attempted prosecution of the worst offenders.
Well, particularly if Ghislaine Maxwell is in jail for trafficking.
Yes.
Because, trafficking...
Well, that means occurred.
Right. So she's in jail for it.
Yes.
So,
who were the clients?
Yeah. Yeah, how do you put someone in jail and you don't even name the clients? That sounds kind of insane.
I think, yes, it would... Yes, because...
Just stunning that they've been able to hold it back for so long. It's really kind of amazing.
Yes.
Like when people say that people can't keep secrets, what the f*** are you talking about? Look at this.
Yeah, I mean, a bunch of these things are not like... It's common knowledge, but we don't actually have the proof.
Right.
So the proof is there. I mean, there's lots of videos. Yeah. There's lots. I mean, the dude is like a mountain of whenever they raided Epstein's place, there would have been like a mountain of evidence. Where is that mountain?
Right. What'd you do with it?
Yes. Like who took possession of the evidence?
Yeah.
Specifically.
Right.
The individuals.
Where are the tapes?
So far, most consequences have taken the form of public scrutiny. Peter Mandelson, the UK ambassador to the United States, stepped down after emails revealed closer ties to Epstein than he had initially acknowledged. Then there is Prince Andrew. Virginia Giuffre alleged that she was trafficked by Epstein and directed to have contact with Prince Andrew when she was 17. Prince Andrew has consistently denied the allegations. Nevertheless, the repercussions were significant. His brother, King Charles III, removed his honorary military roles and royal patronages, and he withdrew from public royal duties.
From disturbing photos of the former Prince Andrew to his alleged sharing of government documents with convicted senator Jeffrey Epstein, the fallout from the Epstein files once again putting the British royal family into turmoil. Andrew has denied all wrongdoing, but the pressure is now ramping up on the royals to do and say more about their disgraced relative. The Crown under fire.
Charles, how long have you known about Andrew and Epstein?
From King Charles to Prince William, shouted at in Saudi Arabia.
To what extent do you think the royal family has done enough around the Andrew and Epstein issue?
ITV also capturing Queen Camilla getting tough questions too.
Do you have a message for Epstein's victims, Your Majesty?
We've never actually seen other members of the royal family heckled to the extent that we have in the last few days.
Epstein is no longer alive, but Ghislaine Maxwell remains imprisoned and has continued to refuse cooperation. Victims have testified multiple times that she was involved in the abuse and helped Epstein manage operations, yet broader accountability questions remain unresolved.
As her lawyer continues to press for clemency in exchange for her testimony, something President Trump has continually declined to rule out, how does this all make you feel?
It's honestly very disturbing to see these images of her and have her be looked at as someone who could potentially be providing any kind of information in this case. I mean, she has refused over and over to cooperate with the investigation. She's refused to she doesn't have any empathy or has not expressed any empathy or remorse to her victims. So I think it's highly problematic that anyone would consider negotiating with a serious criminal like this. And I think it would just really be indicative of guilt in some way, because we know that she is not a credible source of information.
And you say to her victims, as you know, she has repeatedly said that she had no involvement directly with actually.
I can speak, very personally to the fact that that's not true. She. towards me. And there's so many other crimes that she committed that she wasn't even prosecuted for. You know, there were 4 of us that testified at her trial, but I have now met so many women who say it was because of Ghislaine Maxwell that I ended up being, sometimes for years, and that she was at times involved in that herself. So she was a very central figure in this system, and her efforts to minimize her role have not been effective. You know, we've seen in the files that have been released already several places where the emails she sent are contradictory to things she said on the record before.
Recently, Ghislaine was called to testify again but declined to answer questions. If Epstein truly operated alone, critics ask why she appears unwilling to speak further.
Ms. Maxwell, were you a close friend and confidant of Jeffrey Epstein?
I would like to answer your question, but on the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer this question and any related questions. My habeas petition is pending in the Southern District of New York. I therefore invoke my right to silence under the Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution.
Let the record reflect that Ms. Maxwell has invoked the Fifth Amendment against self-incrimination. Ms. Maxwell, please be very clear. Are you declining to answer the question put to you solely on the ground that you believe the answer will incriminate you?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
If you want deeper analysis of the files, detailed timelines, and clarification on what is verified versus what remains speculation, make sure to subscribe and enable notifications. I will continue separating documented facts from rumor and walking through what the official records actually show. Share your thoughts in the comments. Do you believe this represents a failure of the justice system, or is there something more happening behind the scenes?